Number 15. Tunnel systems. It has been proven in recent years that Area 51 is impossible to view or access, even if you work for the higher-ups in government. Unless you're directly involved in Area 51 happenings, you're just as blind as the rest of the world. To further how blind we are to what's going on in that base, many sources claim that what we have seen of Area 51 is only the very beginning of the intricate design made to hide everything. There are said to be hundreds of underground tunnel networks that link certain areas of the place together. These networks allow for quicker access to different locations, as well as a better way to move certain things that may need extra hiding from radar or possible peeping eyes. The tunnel networks are another great example of the important work being done on the base. Some people even claim that they know of maintenance workers that work at the Edwards Air Force Base in California, who said there's a huge tunnel system connecting Edwards, Roswell, and Area 51. Many question why underground tunnels are necessary to hide aircraft on a base that is already entirely invisible to radar. It is more likely that the tunnel systems are in place due to satellites like Google Earth that allow a surface view of the base, and connecting locations across America is more likely in place to move aircrafts without being seen overhead. That is if the systems are true. However, adding dark underground tunnels to rumors of aliens doesn't feel right. Number 14. Strategic Defense Initiative. The Strategic Defense Initiative, also known as SDI, was a proposed missile defense system intended to protect the United States from attack by ballistic strategic nuclear weapons. The system, which was to combine ground-based units and orbital deployment platforms, was first publicly announced by President Ronald Reagan in March 1983. The Strategic Defense Initiative Organization, or SDIO, was set up in 1984 within the United States Department of Defense to oversee the Strategic Defense Initiative. The ambitious initiative was widely criticized as being unrealistic, even unscientific. SDI was referred to in the mainstream media as Star Wars. Roughly 22 researchers that were involved in SDI died in a 4 to 6 year span after the end of the project. The varying causes of death include auto accidents, leaps to death, shotguns, decapitation, asphyxiation, and even a missing persons case. Coroners in many of the cases that don't even appear to be suicides rule that there may have been foul play involved. While most of the deaths seem unrelated to the research, it's still a strange coincidence that so many members of the same team eventually met the same fate. Many speculate that this could be some attempt of the government to cover its tracks. The Pentagon has refused to comment on this topic. Number 13. Toxic waste. There have been reports that in the 70s and 80s and even more recent years, the US military has taken advantage of worker confidentiality agreements to use Area 51 as a secret dumping and burning ground for toxic waste of all sorts. As the number of toxic chemical related deaths increased at Area 51, the widows of workers sued, producing evidence that the military had regularly filled trenches with hazardous waste and set it on fire. At the end of these court cases, there was no action taken against Area 51 or the military to halt the dumping of this waste. This case also brought to light that Area 51 is apparently legally exempt from any laws in place to protect the environment from harm. Number 12. Get back in your car. A huge portion of the many signs outside the base state to not get out of your car for any reason. If you decide to violate the warnings, you may be dealt with deadly force. There have been rare stories of people actually somehow entering the base without even meaning to. It's very unlikely considering the strong security. However, the thought of stumbling upon a secret government base by accident is unsettling. Stories also report that if you come across Area 51 and try to get out of your car, heavily armed guards will immediately hold you at gunpoint and force you back into your car. One unidentified witness even claims that they were blindfolded by a guard, while another drove the car away from the site and left them there with no idea of where they were and no idea how to get back onto a main road. Number 11. Listening devices. Aside from giant guns and blindfolds, another measure taken by Area 51 Special Security Team is that they have motion sensors, listening devices, and cameras up to 50 miles all around the base. Even in the wooded areas or the miles of desert, there can supposedly be cameras found. While this is clearly to keep an eye on people trying to find alternative ways in, UFO enthusiasts theorize that the cameras are in place to keep an eye out for alien activity. Furthermore, it's rumored that the listening devices are in place to try to obtain audio of signals sent by the aliens' home planets. The equipment is apparently even capable of sensing the motion of a butterfly wing. Number 10. Skylab Photo. Something that has been under controversy since the 70s is a document from April 1974. The document is a photo taken by Skylab astronauts of Area 51. There's actually a 2-page document marked Top Secret that focuses on the relative merits of retaining blank as a high-priority secret national security installation versus the merits of NASA belief that there would be a domestic and foreign problems created by the withholding the photograph. In layman's terms, the document discusses and debates whether or not the photo should ever be released to the public. The reason that the topic is so controversial and debated is because when the photo was taken, there were clear instructions to not allow any photos to be taken of Area 51 from the space station. This was the only location on Earth that had such a ban. Number 9. Paradise Ranch. Certain insiders have confirmed that during the building of Area 51, the construction team was told that they were building a location known as Paradise Ranch. Not only were construction workers told this, but so were the future employees. Area 51 was given the code name so that intelligence officers and government employees wouldn't have to tell their families that they were moving to a rather large fenced-off area in the desert to perform top-secret work. This was supposedly also to keep the construction workers happy while building, and to prevent them from having a reason to spread information about the things they were doing on site. Number 8. UFOs and aliens. Area 51 is possibly most known for its supposed extraterrestrial activities. Over the decades, there have been rumored sightings of UFOs flying over or near Area 51. Bob Lazar is a man who has been in the news more times than not. He claims to have been a scientist and engineer for Area 51 and similar bases. Most particular, he claims to have worked at a base known as S4, where he apparently worked on nuclear equipment and on a special project with a space probe which created its own gravitational pull and can pull the fabric of space and time toward it. Lazar also claims that he was given short lessons describing the historical involvement by extraterrestrial beings with this planet for the past 10,000 years. The beings allegedly originate from the first and second planets within a distant star system and are referred to as Greys. However, according to Lazar, these beings were also referred to as the kids within the program, or as gourds among the personnel. He also claims to have seen footage of these creatures being held captive and interviewed by trained personnel and even tortured in some cases. The CIA has since admitted to having UFOs on base that they study to identify and use in practice for hiding aircraft from radar. While a UFO is nothing more than identified or unfamiliar aircraft, this does not help to prove Lazar's claims. After Lazar came forth, his background was checked to prove his claimed educational background. However, it turned out he was lying about his degrees and where he attended. It would be very easy for the government to cover up someone's educational backgrounds and records if they needed to. It's uncertain whether Lazar's claims will ever be verified true or false. Number 7. Janet. Janet is the name for a small group of passenger aircraft operated for the United States Air Force. These small planes transport military and contractor employees and currently serve mostly the Nevada National Security Site, most notably Area 51 from their terminal at Las Vegas McCarran International Airport. The first flights from Las Vegas to Area 51 were performed in 1972. The terminal for these aircrafts is a very small fenced-off portion of the McCarran Airport and has very limited access. The flights carry roughly 1,000 workers every day. A disturbing thing is that most of the workers hardly ever wear suits or any sort of uniforms. They're usually dressed very casually. Janet is claimed to stand for just another non-existent terminal. However, it's much more likely to stand for a joint air network for employee transportation. Number 6. Independence Day. The plot for the 1996 film Independence Day is simply about aliens. Being about aliens, of course, means that there was a heavy focus on Area 51. During the beginning of the filming for the movie, the US military planned to provide transportation and help with costumes, likely in an attempt to show the public how unsecretive they could actually be. However, taking a further look into the script they eventually backed out. The plot involved aliens and abducted humans being held on Area 51 grounds. The military tried to convince writers to remove the base as a setting from the movie entirely, but could not force them to do so. After realizing this, they refused to be involved in the making of the film in any way, as they felt it would appear as though they were encouraging the Area 51 alien rumors. Number 5. London Fog Event. A common way to get rid of toxic waste is to burn it off. However, this is the most dangerous thing to do because the smoke makes it much easier for the chemicals to enter the body. During a typical burning of hazardous waste in 1989, a giant fog was created that covered the Area 51 base. Workers nicknamed it the London Fog due to how vast and impossible it was to see through it. Many workers fell very ill from this. Robert Frost was one of the hundreds of affected workers. His wife said that his skin began to peel off his face and that he was covered in blisters. He would often drench himself in water and scream that he could not handle the pain. His case is so special and so commonly discussed because although he was just one of the so many affected, he ultimately committed suicide before being able to seek help. After his death, Area 51 officials refused to publish anything in regards to Robert's autopsy. These events led to one of the most popular court cases involving Area 51 and their form of toxic waste management. Number 4. Area 51 is invisible. Area 51 has, for decades, been one of the United States' biggest secrets. In short, the secretive base does not show up anywhere, almost as if it doesn't exist. In the early years, base map makers were paid and forced to not include Area 51 on their maps. As technology has grown, it has also been kept from appearing on GPS software. When using geological or aeronautical maps, you won't be able to locate Area 51. It appears as more of an unmarked region aside from Groom Lake. Even aircrafts from the base don't show up on radar. Before the government admitted Area 51's existence, the only way to come across it would be to go to the general location where you would start seeing all of the warning signs. Number 3. Area 51 has taken public land. Area 51 access is extremely limited and very closely monitored. The base, located about 81 miles north of Las Vegas, and its activities are highly classified. Everything from guards with guns to cameras and sensors make accessing the site pretty impossible. The closest observation point is at Tabiku Peak, about 26 miles from the base. You will, however, have to climb the mountain and have strong binoculars to even have a chance of seeing anything. The Air Force has actually taken lands from public use to keep the base hidden from view. For many years, Sides Peak or Freedom Region could have been used to get a pretty exciting view of the base. However, these areas were seized, and even Tabiku Peak is said to be well on its way of being overtaken. The government has gone to extreme measures to make sure no one can see what's going on inside Area 51. If it's nothing but aircrafts and paperwork, why go through all of the tourists from getting a peek at some runway lights? Number 2. The Frantic Caller. In 1997, a very popular talk show host, Art Bell, received a frantic call from a man claiming to be a former worker in Area 51. The caller explained that he was just let go on a medical discharge roughly a week prior to the call. The caller begins to cry and panic even more before going on to explain that he had been running across the country, assumably to escape the CIA. He also states, "They'll triangulate this location really soon." Just after that, the call began to break up, which the show later said was due to a change in the call satellite position. However, this remains unconfirmed. The caller went on to explain that what we were all thinking of as aliens were actually something known as extra-dimensional beings. The caller was never identified, and the truth behind the call was of course never confirmed.
Okay, what we're thinking of as aliens are they're extra-dimensional beings that an earlier precursor of the space program made contact with. The disasters that are coming, the military, I'm sorry, the government knows about them.
But they're not doing anything.
They are not. They want the major population centers wiped out so that the few that are left will be more easily controllable.
Number 1. MJ-12. Aside from all the alien conspiracy surrounding Area 51, there's another commonly discussed and equally terrifying theory out there of a shadow organization known as MJ-12, established in 1947, sometimes called Majestic or Magic 12. This group is said to be focused on bringing about a new world order, and the meetings apparently occurred on the Area 51 base during the beginning of this controversy. Originally, the group was rumored to include a dozen very powerful people, like President Truman, who was also said to have been the leader, heads of the CIA, rich and evil businessmen, and even celebrities. Documents reported to be from this group have surfaced, including papers that allegedly held presidential signatures on plans for plagues and other attempts to lower the population, as well as other plans involving alien spacecraft. After much of this controversy's hype had died down, in 1996, a document called the MJ-12 Special Operations Manual circulated and caused more controversy. Most of the documents related to the shadow organization have said to be proven fake by government officials. However, that doesn't really matter when you consider that if this society is real, there are presidents involved. Why would government agencies or officials ever out a secret society made of other officials? Got an idea for a top 15 list? Be sure to leave in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe for future videos. Thanks for watching.